Live from the Xfinity Studios, it's the station that America listens to. WVON, Berwyn, Chicago. It's Rufus Williams on Chicago's Essential Storyteller, WVON.
You wonder how. The views expressed on our programs are not necessarily those of WVON, Midway Broadcasting Corporation, or our participating sponsors.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Every day you're walking by and I can see how you shine. Here I am alone with nothing but a dream that you are mine. Just exactly what I'll do, I don't know, baby, but I gotta find a way to reach you. Tell me what I gotta do to get to your house. Tell me where I gotta go, I'm meant to be with you. Tell me what I gotta say, I'm meant to speak to your heart. Tell me what I need to know tonight.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The Audio Genius.
Get in on the conversation with Rufus Williams and the Morning Show at 591-1690. We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good morning, and welcome to, well, today is a lot of stuff. Welcome to Cinco de Mayo. Welcome to National Teacher Appreciation Day. Welcome to May 5th, and welcome to the Rufus Williams Show. I am Rufus Williams, and as always, thrilled, excited. I'm so delighted to be here with you this morning, and thank you so much for waking up with Rufus. Mamie is here, BJ is here, Titus is here, Ned is here, the gang's all here, and I'll get to you in just a moment. But we've got a guest on the line that I want to get to first. This is, we are celebrating, we're recognizing, making ourselves more aware of health and wellness the entirety of this month. Each of the shows have a day that we're really focusing on, but you know, as we go, we're going to get a lot of it as we go through. One of the things that's important as well this month is that it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And did you know that feeding birds is actually good for your mental health? A 2024 study confirmed what millions of Americans are already discovering. Birding isn't just a hobby, it's a legitimate wellness habit. Joining us this morning to talk about it is wildlife advocate Adrianne Chessius. She's the Director of Consumer and Bird Engagement at Global Harvest Foods. Adrianne, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
No, it's good to have so many questions to ask you, but let's begin here. Bird watching is having a major moment. What is driving bird watching in popularity?
So bird watching really does fill in a lot of the boxes of what people are looking for in day-to-day life. It's affordable. It's very easy to get started. You don't need to have any travel plans or a membership. You really don't even need experience because the experience comes to you. And that's why 96 million Americans already consider themselves bird watchers. And 95% of them watch birds from their house. People are really prioritizing their mental health and trying to calm down and find a moment of peace every day. And bird watching does that for you.
Joanne, is there any actual science behind this? Does the research say anything about bird feeding and the connection to mental health, or are we just doing this because we like to do it?
No, absolutely. So the science is increasingly clear that birds are genuinely good for your mental health. A 2024 study from the University of North Carolina found out that people that watch birds for 30 minutes reported a lot of reduced stress and improved mood compared to those that just go on a standard nature walk. And that really does make sense because when you think about it, you look up in the trees and at your bird feeder, you see the beautiful colors, you hear the gorgeous songs, and you never know who's going to show up next. And that excitement really brings you back into the moment and away from your screens and your phones. And that's something we all need a little bit more of every day.
I can't tell you how important this is because I thought it was just me. I do stand in the window and I do watch the birds. There's a sense of calmness as you're watching them do what they do. I always wonder, are they building a nest over here? Because they do build them in different places in my yard. And I look for that. And then just yesterday, and one of the most beautiful birds I see come through is a cardinal who just, every year there's some red cardinals that show up in my yard. And it is fascinating. I just didn't know that was what was helping me stay sane.
Absolutely.
So for people who just are moving along and doing it, is there any tips? Is there anything that people have to do to get started bird watching, or do you just start watching them?
Yeah, so it's actually remarkably simple to get started feeding wild birds. Really, all you need is a bird feeder, a quality bird feed, and a window view where you can set up your feeder and just enjoy. I would suggest if you're just starting out to start with a no-mess blend where it doesn't have the shells, you don't have to worry about cleaning it up, or if you want the easiest way to feed wild birds, you can get a condensed seed cake by Audubon Park, and you just mix and match, stack it, hang it up on your feeder, and enjoy the view. And really, that's as easy as it is. But no matter where you are, if you're starting out, give it a few days or a week, because once the birds find your feeder and they realize they can trust it, they will keep coming back and they'll bring their friends.
So is bird food only for birds? Will other animals come and eat it? Or what is it that we should be concerned about beyond just the food?
Yeah, so as I'm sure you know, squirrels like to come in and crash the party from time to time, but there are plenty of bird seed options out there that are really spicy, and birds don't sense the feeling of spice like mammals do. So that's a great place to start if you want to just keep the bird seed for the birds.
Adrianne, do birds typically, or do they poop where they eat? If we start feeding birds, we're going to have more bird poop around.
It is a possibility, but I always say keep the broom handy, but it's definitely a price willing to pay for the beautiful view that we get to see every day.
What other tips can you share with us about how to keep the birds coming then once we get them, and given that this does help our mental health, which we all need help with?
Yeah, so I can give you a few tips on how to keep birds in your yard. The first thing would be make sure you're consistent and keep your feeders filled, because nothing is worse than when you arrive to your favorite restaurant and they're out of your favorite food. So make sure it's filled with a high quality feed. That way you have a great experience from day one. The next thing you want to do is fill up a bird bath, because birds love to be able to splash around and drink between their bites. And maybe take your feeder and put it by shrubs or trees, so that if the birds need a quick escape, they can feel safer and they're more likely to return to your yard.
Do birds eat bugs? Do they help out with any of that, or do we just enjoy their beauty in and of itself?
Oh, both. Absolutely. I mean, birds are great at going after spiders and mosquitoes and lots of the little creepy crawlies that we might not want to see around. But especially this time of year, they're really great at finding the bugs and the seeds all together.
And where do we go best to get bird food?
So if you want to learn more about birdseed, or you want some insider tips, you can visit morecoolbirds.com or audubonpark.com, and you can learn how to bring more cool birds into your yard. But the number one thing is to just get started.
So are birds refined to certain areas? Like I mentioned, I see cardinals from time to time in my yard. That's the only bird that I can identify exclusively because it's red. But are there any other, are they geographical? Is it regional? What will we find wherever we are?
Absolutely. So really, the longer you sit in your yard, the more you will learn about each species. And if you want to learn more, just sit out and enjoy the view.
And tell us one more time where we can go to learn more about feeding these wild birds.
Absolutely. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit morecoolbirds.com or audubonpark.com, and you can find more about seed selections and beginner tips. And happy birding.
Happy birding. Adrianne, thank you so much for being with us. This is a wonderful way to kick off the day. Appreciate you. Be well.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This is Rufus Williams, and I've got something special for you. I am proud to announce that we're launching the Rufus Williams Travel Club in conjunction with Advantage International. Our first trip, we're staying in the United States and heading to one of the most stunning destinations for culture to cuisine. Join us October 8th through 12th as we explore the charm, the beauty, and the history of Charleston, South Carolina. This isn't your typical getaway. We're walking through history and standing where our stories began. From the roots of Gullah Geechee culture to the International African American Museum, from cobblestone streets to waterfront views. This is more than a trip. It's a cultural vibe. To find out more, visit WVON.com and click the Rufus Williams Travel Club banner. And keep listening for more details. The Rufus Williams Travel Club will turn curiosity into understanding, one destination at a time. We are WVON.
It's D.L. Hughley.
Nick Cannon's logic is as weak as his Everybody fucking knew that Republicans freed the slaves. Everybody knew it. The last time he did something for black people was 163 years ago. You got to update your resume. Have a 5-year gap on your resume and see if it's valid. When Republicans did that, Hawaii wasn't a state. If you're going to talk about the greatest of a policy that helped black people out, it should at least be sometime after the fucking moon landing.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Hey, Chicago, it's Matt McGill. We had so much fun last year. We're heading back to the Chicago Blues Festival as their official radio partner June 5th through the 7th in Millennium Park. But guess what? On Thursday, June 4th, we're going to kick things off. That's me and my buddy Sir Henry Cheatham. We're going to the iconic Ramova Theater, 3618 South Austin, and we're bringing on stage one of Chicago's favorites, the one, the only, Willie Clayton.
3 people sleeping in my bed one time.
And Chicago's own, the legendary John Primer.
Well, I'm rolling and tumbling, talking all out of my head.
You want to join us? Then reserve your free seats now at RamovaChicago.com. That's RamovaChicago.com. Then keep it right here to WVON for your chance to win VIP tickets to the Ramova and to hear more about this year's lineup. I'll see you there Thursday, June 4th at the Ramova Theater to kick off the 2026 Chicago Blues Festival, brought to you by Mayor Brandon Johnson and DCASE, the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. That cannabis charge from years ago, it could still be costing you jobs, housing, and opportunities you don't even know you're missing. But there's a way out. New Leaf, Illinois is a free state-funded program helping people clear old cannabis and other eligible records. You've already paid the price. Don't let your old record cost you even more. Call 872-NEW-LEAF or visit newleafillinois.org today. New Leaf, Illinois, it's your fresh start.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Buying custom blinds shouldn't be complicated or stressful. That's why Blindster.com makes it simple and affordable. You measure, you install, and you save big on custom blinds. Ordering takes minutes, installation is easy, and they guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Traffic off to a heavy start. We're seeing some light rain and lots of traffic. You're already looking at a 40-minute trip along the Ryan from 95th Street into downtown. You also want to factor in an accident is blocking the right center lane at 18th Street. Getting to the Ryan along the Bishop Ford, already 20 minutes in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, a 20-minute trip as well from I-80. Turning to DuSable Lakeshore Drive, things are still pretty light for now, but the Stevenson, we're seeing some major delays there. You're already looking at almost an hour in from I-355 to DuSable Drive, a 55-minute trip traveling out. The Eisenhower, heavy as well. We're looking at almost an hour 10 in from Thorndale to the Burns Circle. On the outbound side, you do want to factor in an accident blocking the right lane at Mill Road. That accident is involving a semi. We're looking at almost an hour traveling out. And the Kennedy, 55 in from O'Hare to downtown. Give yourself 40 slow minutes to the airport. Taking a look at our weather right now, we are seeing some light rain across the area. The National Weather Service says much cooler today. Temperatures are expected to top out somewhere in the low 60s, around 62. Tonight, 47. We're at 49 at Midway. It's raining and 49 in Morgan Park and 49 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm in Flanoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. So yesterday was May 4th, the first Monday in May, which is known for a lot of things, but mostly it's known for the Met Gala. Annette, did you have a chance to look at any of the outfits? What are your thoughts about this big old thing?
It is a big old thing, Rufus. It's a multi-million-dollar big old thing. You know, they raised $42 million at this event. And, you know, it's all name brands. You know, all the top stars came out to show off their beautiful outfits. And it's all for the Met Gala. The money goes to the Met Gala to support their efforts there. And so, you know, the Met Gala is a big metropolitan museum that's in New York. And it features, you know, some of the highest levels of art, you know, imaginable around the world. And the stars dress up to pay tribute to art. And so that's what they do. They go way out. The farther they go, the better it is for the event. And this year, like I said, they earned $42 million. And I know for sure, Beyonce was there. She's like one of the major directors, and she has not attended in quite a few years. So it was a big deal for her to be there. Top names like Rihanna, you know, Venus Williams, even Blue Ivy. Beyonce's daughter was there. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal in art. It's a big deal in Hollywood. So you bring those two together, you get a $42 million win.
You know, it's amazing. They can make that much money off of one night. And the money there is going to the Costume Institute there at the Met. And that's not the only big gala that they have, because I think about the Robin Hood Institute, which also raises, you know, double digits of millions of dollars. Wes Moore was actually the president of that for a while, but they raise money in New York like no place else in the world. This one in particular, though, at this time became a bit controversial because it's raising so much money, and what's it raising money for? And Jeff Bezos, along with Beyonce and Nicole Kidman and Venus Williams that you mentioned, and Anna Wintour were the co-chairs. I did see The Devil Wears Prada and The Devil Wears Prada 2 over the weekend, by the way.
What'd you think?
Love them both. Love them both. The first one was really stunning. The second one had a lot of cameos from a lot of stars in there, which is probably what the Met Gala is like, because I did see Dwayne Wade as well in looking at the videos last night. But this one, in this time when we talk about affordability, when there's so much around what Doge did and jobs being cut and taxing the rich and taxing the billionaires, just makes this feel like it's a lot more. So some of the people who didn't show up last night, in particular, the mayor of New York, who is the socialist, who it would have just been off brand for him to be there celebrating this in that way. So he didn't show up. Zendaya, I just love Zendaya, but she skipped the event. Meryl Streep did not attend, and Bella Hadid sparked speculation that she was boycotting by liking an Instagram post that criticized the event and even mentioned Ice Alpin. So there was a lot of money was made, a lot of glamour was shown. Nothing these days is without some level of controversy. But this $42 million is a whole lot of money. A whole lot of money.
I agree.
The other connection, Titus, that was made when I saw The Devil Meets Prada 2, when they showed kind of this big event that was happening, and you see some of the cameos that were there. You saw Rory McIlroy.
Okay.
And you saw the big guy from the Knicks, whose name is escaping me in the moment.
Karl Anthony Towns.
Karl Anthony Towns is there. So my wife didn't recognize who he was when I was trying to show her last night. But yeah, they kind of moved all these things in together. Speaking of Karl Anthony Towns, the Knicks have pulled out a can of whoop ass for everybody.
Yeah, I guess they're going to keep it going. Who would have thought?
I mean, they're winning by minimum of 25 points a game.
Easily. It's crazy. I mean, they're playing great ball at the right time.
And they look so smooth. I mean, they look like they just can't miss.
I might be wrong. I said that, I was a Tibbs guy, so I thought firing him last year was a bad idea. But Mike Brown, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I like Mike Brown in there. Tibbs is, you can like Tibbs, hate Tibbs. Tibbs is a winner, but Tibbs is always that next man up guy. And he will go down as being the guy who had Derrick Rose on the court when he should not have been there.
Yep, unfortunately.
And it caused that tremendous injury that ultimately led to Derrick leaving the Bulls.
Yes.
And, Derrick is such a big star. Yesterday, they were showing him just shooting around with his youngest son at an AAU game where his older son is playing, just shooting. And it was a news story. So, that's my thought. Tibbs, next man up. Yeah, not when it's Derrick, and he should be sitting on the bench. The Spurs lost last night,
which was surprising. I thought they had the advantage against the Timberwolves, but hey, it goes to show anybody can get beat any day.
Yeah, and I think I turned on sport. Obviously, I did not stay up to watch that game last night, and I turned on SportsCenter. That must have been the first thing that they covered because I didn't see the highlights or anything. Ant-Man played, though. Ant-Man returned.
Yes, he did come back.
How'd he play?
He played solid. I mean, they just had him on a minutes restriction, so he was okay. He had 21 points, so, I mean, pretty good.
He only had 21 points.
Crazy, right?
Look, a lot's going on. A whole lot of baseball is still being played. This is the time of year when everything's kind of in season, right? Hockey, baseball,
yes, I love it. Everybody's playing.
Yeah, so that means the fundamentals is going to still be live when it gets to this Saturday. Look, it is time. Let's find out from Annette what else is going on in the news. I've got more for you when we come back after this.
49 degrees and light rain across our area. Good morning. I'm Annette Flournoy, and here's what's happening. Weather tops our news today. Well, if you're like me, you slept through it. Our area was hit with some pretty severe storms last night. Storms led to ground stops at O'Hare. Severe weather is to blame for the ground stop at O'Hare Airport. Storms hit the region last night, bringing gusty winds and hail. The FAA says the ground stop was put in place for flights traveling to Chicago from a number of other U.S. airports. The weather also led to a department delay. Classes are canceled this morning at Forest View School in Arlington Heights after a school resource officer reported his service weapon missing. The officer says he removed it while in the restroom just before school let out, but after a thorough search, it has not been found. The Arlington Heights Police Department is now involved in the investigation at the specialized school. They've called K-9 units in, and they're looking over surveillance cameras. The third annual Chicago Public School Champions celebration was held last night at Malcolm X. Mayor Brandon Johnson was on hand. He was at the event and congratulated the students who are honored for their outstanding work as public school students for achievements in a wide range of fields, including STEM, music, chess, and debate. And congratulations goes out to Dr. Shaka Rawls, the principal of Leo High School, for getting a special recognition. He was handed the coveted Golden Apple Foundation Award for Excellence in Leadership. In 2016, Dr. Rawls took over at the mostly Black, all-male Catholic high school in Auburn Gresham, and he took over at a time when the school was struggling. Today, enrollment and test scores are up, and there is a 100% college acceptance rate. That's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVON News Time, 7:33.
This Juneteenth, the Obama Presidential Center opens to the world on Chicago's South Side. The ancestors are proud. We're WVON.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
Primary care that's completely you. OSF Complete Care 55 Plus is personalized primary care for adults 55 and older living with ongoing health conditions. Now accepting patients in Evergreen Park. OSFhealthcare.org/CC55.
Hey, it's Cleopatra Draper. Join me for the Midday Show weekdays at 9 a.m. where we'll sip and spill all the tea. Do you want it hot or cold? Either way, we're serving up the flavor of the day. Weekdays at 9 a.m. right here on the station giving you what's now and what's next. 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Buying custom blinds shouldn't be complicated or stressful. That's why Blindster.com makes it simple and affordable. You measure, you install, and you save big on custom blinds. Ordering takes minutes. Installation is easy. And they guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
This definitely is shaping up to be one of those mornings where leaving early is a good idea. The inbound Ryan already 47 minutes in from 95th Street into downtown, with that earlier accident at 18th Street still blocking the center right lane. As you make your way along the Bishop 4, give yourself 20 minutes in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, also a 20-minute trip in from I-80. So far, so good still along DuSable Lakeshore Drive, just our normal delays, nothing holding you back. If you're on the Stevenson, though, you're looking at 50 minutes in from I-355 to DuSable Drive, 40 traveling out. The Eisenhower just bumped up to an hour 10. From Thorndale to the Burns Circle, that outbound trip, just about 50 minutes. The Kennedy, also about an hour 7 from O'Hare to downtown. Now getting to the airport, just bumped up to an hour commute. Taking a look at our weather, we're seeing a little light rain across the area. The National Weather Service says we're in store for pretty much a cloudy day with temperatures topping out in the low 60s. 62 is our official high. Our low tonight around 50. Right now it's 49 at Midway, 49 in Morgan Park, and 49 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flurnoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. Every time that Annette gives us the traffic and weather, it reminds you, that you should be on Metro with your earphones in, listening to the Rufus Williams Show. Those times are ridiculous. On Metro, 95% rate on time means you won't be late getting to work. You won't be late getting anywhere. Just buy the regional day pass. $2.50 will make it happen for you on CTA, Metro, and Pace. Purchasing tickets is easy. Just use the Venture app. Bring the whole family. They don't need to be with you this morning unless you're taking the kids to school, but they will ride free with you on Metro. This traffic is bad. Gas is expensive. Gridlock is horrible. If somebody spits on the ground in Chicago, people forget how to drive. Metro. That's the answer. Titus, how'd you get home last night?
I took Metro.
You took the way you really fly.
Right. I mean, it takes me, honestly, about maybe 15 to 20 minutes max to get home.
You don't worry about anything. You're not stressed. We don't worry about you running your car and stuff.
Oh, definitely don't worry about my car. Don't worry about me on the road in the afternoon. I'm good.
Finally, we found an answer for Titus. The same answer for you. Take Metro.
I took Metro as well yesterday, Rufus.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And on time,
On time. You can set your clock by it. Seriously, on time.
On
It makes you
time.
run for the train for that reason.
You know, you see people walking from the train station, they look so relaxed. And you see people walking from the parking lot looking so stressed. It's a very different experience. Take Metro. It just works. Speaking now, since you both are paying attention, today is National Teacher Appreciation Day.
Yes.
Annette, who is your favorite teacher?
See, I went to Catholic school, so I had teachers like Sister Beata.
God was your favorite teacher.
It's kind of a different. It's a different vibe. But as lay teachers, that is a good question.
All right,
I don't know. I have to really think deeply about that.
Okay, I'll come back to you in a minute. Titus, who is your favorite teacher?
I got like 5 I can list.
List them.
Okay.
I need to hear it.
My first grade teacher, her name was Tawana Muhammad. She passed a few years ago. She was awesome. First Black teacher, we had to write the lift every voice and sing every single day. I remember doing that, and in cursive. I remember doing that. So shout out to Miss Muhammad. The next one I would say, and we're Facebook friends, so she listens to your show every day. Her name is Terry McQuarrie. She was my 4th grade English teacher. She was very instrumental in my life, and my brother gave her a hard time when he was in her class. They had split us up a couple years. So
brother.
I was in that class with her in 4th grade. He got her in 7th. And she is just an awesome person. She contacts me every so often. She contacted me for my birthday to tell me happy birthday. And she hasn't aged today, so she looks really good. So shout out Terry McQuarrie for 4th grade. High school, I have my AP American history teacher. His name was Mr. Mannion. He was a really cool guy. He encouraged me to not only apply to a couple schools that I got into, but he wrote me a letter of recommendation. And that was a really high honor to me because he didn't write letter of recommendation. So the fact that I got one out of him was amazing. I have another one from broadcasting school as well. And I give a big shout out to Beyonce Fox, who was instrumental in that aspect as well. And I saw her at the services for Reverend Jackson.
Yeah, she was right
and
next
she
to us.
remembered me, and she's like, you gave me such a hard time, but I'm glad you're doing your thing and you're in the business and working hard. So big shout out to Beyonce Fox. And then I have one more. Last but not least, her name was Miss Harden. She passed a few years ago as well. And she walked with Dr. King back when he came to Chicago. And so just listening to her tell me all the stories about her and marching and fighting for our freedoms today. And then, just thinking about the thing, what they're doing with the Voting Rights Act and everything. So it's just, I think about her a lot in these times and how instrumental she was in my life. So those are my top 5 for sure.
Well, that's good, Titus, and good you remember all of them. National Teacher Appreciation Day. That was a pretty good list. You could think of 5, and Annette could only think of God. Annette, you come up with anybody yet?
No, not at all. I would have to go into the college years to think about that. Yeah,
that's okay. The professors would count because Titus went to broadcast school and grabbed.
No, that was awesome, Titus. I really admire your recall on that, and I mean, and it goes to show that for you to remember them like this, the impact that they have on your life, and so yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's also younger in that, so he can remember stuff because it wasn't that long ago for him.
It's true. And then again, I went to Catholic school, so I had,
yeah, God. That's all, you got God, and that's all you need.
Exactly.
I went to public school, so I didn't quite have that, but I will tell you, I had, and I've mentioned him before, Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips was my contemporary American history teacher when I became a senior in high school. And Mr. Phillips was just a cool dude until the last day of dropping ad. Because he'd come in, he was fun, he'd talk about stuff that was interesting. And then it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He just became this sumbitch. And I recall the first semester with him, I needed this class to graduate. It was one of the requirements. And I got a D. And I couldn't understand how I got a D because my measure was always, I just needed to do better than everybody else in the class. And I was fine with that. And I knew I was based on the test scores I was looking at and the answers I was giving in class. And I knew everybody else didn't get an F. And so how did I get a D, Mr. Phillips? And Mr. Phillips told me that I wasn't doing as well as I could. He said, and until you do as well as you can, this is what you're going to get. And it was probably, even though it happened as a senior in high school, best lesson I've had in my life. And ultimately, I got a B out of Mr. Phillips' class. I should have gotten an A, but from a D, I'm happy with the B. And I recall doing a term paper, and I got an A- on it. I think everyone at Orr High School saw that paper. I was running through the hall showing everybody my A- from Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips, I played basketball. He come in the day after the game, and he give me a hard time about how many points you have, how many assists you have, how many rebounds you have. We weren't even keeping those statistics. And as a player, you're certainly not. You're just trying to win the game.
Right.
I don't know what any of this stuff is. But he give me all that. And then I recall we were reading, I think, the Communist Manifesto. And he started asking me questions one day at the beginning of class. It was a day after a game. I was ready for Mr. Phillips. I answered every question. And then he got to asking me a question about the next chapter. I said, Mr. Phillips, I wasn't even in the chapter. He said, yeah, but you should have read it anyway. So this is what then happened. I go to college. I didn't go to college right away, which is when I really saw the benefit of Mr. Phillips, because I went back up to Orr, and he recommended that I start looking at HBCUs that would be more affordable for me. And so I did, and I ended up at Southern as a result. But when I think back to the time in college, recognizing that I was no longer doing better than everybody else was no longer good enough. Just doing my best was good enough. My notion to everyone is that if this professor is grading on a curve, you need to understand the curve is 100 if I'm in the class, because we're going all the way. And it helped me. I was a much better student in college than I was in high school. I think I had 1 C and just a couple Bs. Everything else was A's because of the direction of Mr. Phillips. So, and it's kind of been that way for me for the rest of my life, just kind of pushing no longer just to do better than everybody else, but to do the best that I can. So, and I credit that to him for all. So Mr. Phillips is my best on Teacher Appreciation Day. Not that the other ones weren't good.
Right.
He was just memorable by what he did and what he gave me looking forward in that way. So maybe Titus, I think the answer for Annette is that all of her teachers were good.
Yes.
And so nobody stood out because she's obviously quite competent in what she does. And those things only happen because of that.
Okay, I'll share.
Finally.
All right, I'll share. Because it took me some time to really think about it. And I want to be considerate and thoughtful in this. I would say it is Les Brownlee at Columbia. And he was the best journalism teacher that I ever had. He was my first journalism teacher. I took investigative reporting, was one of my first journalism classes. And just his standard, I mean, he's a classically trained journalist, and that's how he taught. And he was a thoughtful person. And I do remember once after I graduated, I was working in a newsroom and I was struggling. I was just struggling, trying to keep up. I was working with some very competent, experienced journalists, as I have throughout my career, which is a blessing, but I was struggling. And I actually called him and told him what I was going through. And he kind of coached me through how to navigate the waters. He was very happy to do it. He spent a lot of time with me. And one thing I'll always remember that he told me, and I use this to this day, if I share it with other people who might be going through things. He told me to, I missed a deadline, which is a total no-no. And especially back then, it was a total no-no. Back then it was like, if you go cover a story and nobody shows up, you still have to report. So he said, get more time to do it. And when you do get a new deadline, he said, use the time wisely. Now that seems very simple and, when you just hear it, but I have this to get another opportunity. In other words, in this industry is a miracle. So if you get this miracle, use that time and as if you got a total restart and just, do your best. And I did well, but he was a great teacher. And he's also, you can Google him, Les Brownlee. He passed away, but he was an awesome teacher.
They make all the difference all the time. Teacher Appreciation Day, we appreciate all of you, what you do, and certainly the force multiplier is the people you teach and those who can then teach others, and your impact just becomes so great. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
With your help, the Illinois Lottery generated $784 million for education last year. Play all your favorite Illinois Lottery games today to help raise even more. Be smart, play smart. Must be 18 or older to play. Game odds are available at IllinoisLottery.com.
It's D.L. Hughley.
Nick Cannon's logic is as weak as his Everybody fucking knew that Republicans freed the slaves. Everybody knew it. The last time he did something for black people was 163 years ago. You got to update your resume. Have a 5-year gap on your resume and see if it's valid. When Republicans did that, Hawaii wasn't a state. If you're going to talk about the greatest of a policy that helped black people out, it should at least be sometime after the fucking moon landing.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
What if you could have the most reliable Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee.
Just 5 years of fiber-powered Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most.
That finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. Like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that keeps you gaming in the fast lane, even when the whole family's banking on bandwidth. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included.
Plus, get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi.
Hey, let's face it, a lot can change in 5 years. Kids grow taller, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi? It would stay reliable and the price would stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity, imagine that.
Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Powered by fiber. Connected to the premises by coaxial cable. Actual speeds vary.
This is Rufus Williams, and I've got something special for you. I am
Sixth
proud
Ward
to
Alderman
announce
William
that we're
Hall says
launching
the closure
Rufus
of the
Williams
business at
Travel
86
Club
in Cottage
conjunction
Grove
with Advantage
will impact local
Our
seniors
first
in need.
trip, we're staying in the United States and heading to one of the most stunning destinations for culture to cuisine. Join us October 8th through 12th as we explore the charm, the beauty, and the history of Charleston, South Carolina. This isn't your typical getaway. We're walking through history and standing where our stories began. From the roots of Gullah Geechee culture to the International African American Museum, from cobblestone streets to waterfront views. This is more than a trip. It's a cultural vibe. To find out more, visit WVON.com and click the Rufus Williams Travel Club banner. And keep listening for more details. The Rufus Williams Travel Club will turn curiosity into understanding, one destination at a time. We are WVON.
When your body needs real nourishment, don't settle for ordinary supplements. At the Aloe Shop, we believe wellness starts with nature. That's why our premium aloe and nutritional products are crafted with the highest standards, pure, potent, and made to support your health from the inside out. From digestion and energy to immune support, the Aloe Shop helps you feel your best every day. The Aloe Shop at 117 East 95th Street in Chicago. Call 866-256-3747 or reach us online at thealoeshop.com. Come on in and get healthy. Now available at Living Fresh Market in Forest Park and at Pete's Market throughout Chicagoland.
This is Khomeini Khan, certified financial planner professional. For the past year, I've been on a mission to change lives and build wealth in our community. Together, we're changing the paradigm. This year, I'm back with a new series, Wealth Strategies, Money Talks. Join me every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. on the Rufus Williams Show as we have thoughtful discussions around building wealth in our community. We'll discuss topics like investing, savings, tax strategies, retirement, and all things money. Yes, that's Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., so set those alarms. Also, be sure to check out the podcast at WVONWealthShow.com.
Khomeini Khan is a certified financial planner professional with Optimal Planning Partners in alliance with Equitable Advisors, LLC member SIPC in Oak Brook, Illinois. For more information, please call 630-575-5046.
This report is brought to you by the Hartford Auto Insurance. Wait until you hear this. You could save hundreds by switching to AARP Auto Insurance from the Hartford. Visit trusthartford.com. The Hartford, your protection is their passion. The Hartford Insurance Group, Inc. pays royalty fees to AARP for the use of its intellectual property. AARP and its affiliates are non-insurers. Savings vary.
WVON traffic and weather now.
If you're on the inbound Ryan and wondering why traffic is so slow, it's due to an earlier accident inbound at 18th Street. Right now, your travel time, 45 minutes from 95th Street into downtown. The Bishop Ford just bumped up to 26 minutes in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, now a 22-minute trip in from I-80. Stop and go from 119th Street in. Right now, DuSable Lakeshore Drive, things have picked up quite a bit. Give yourself 26 minutes from 67th Street to Jackson. From Hollywood to Monroe, now a 27-minute trip, slow from Montrose to North Avenue. The inbound Stevenson bumped up to an hour 5 from I-355 to DuSable Drive, 40 still traveling out. The inbound side of the Eisenhower, an hour 10. From Thorndale to the Burns Circle, the outbound trip, just about 55 minutes. And the Kennedy still moving along at an hour 10 from O'Hare to downtown, getting to the airport. You're looking at just about an hour there. Taking a look at our weather, looks like rain has stopped for a time. It's cloudy and wet. Temperatures climbing near 62, leveling off at around 47 tonight. Still at 49 at O'Hare. It's 49 in Inglewood and 49 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flanoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Girl, do I do what you do when I do?
Welcome back. I'm not done with this teacher thing because it's so impactful. And I just want to kind of move it a bit to principals because they are the center of the enterprise and they make so much difference in wherever it is. My sister and my brother-in-law were both principals down in New Iberia. I was down there last week, I think, or the week recently. And I was out with my brother-in-law and we were waiting for our carry-out food at this one restaurant as I was going to the airport. And this guy stopped him and said, Mr. Lewis, you made the most impact. You're the most important person in my life. My brother-in-law barely remembered this guy. And he talked to him about how he had flunked. This guy said he had flunked 8th grade. He was flunking it for the 3rd time. And my brother-in-law called him in, talked to him, got him straight. He got on to high school, and he had been a straight A student ever since. He was now an entrepreneur down in Lafayette, Louisiana, with a transportation company. And I just thought about that, and I said to Richard, and it wasn't the first now. We're in a small town, so everybody knows everybody, but there were a few people who had stopped him when we were out. And I think my brother-in-law is either 80 or approaching it. So he doesn't remember everybody, but he's just a kind and gracious guy. But just the thought about the people that you impact and the people that they then impact is so great. And it's great amongst teachers. But when you see principals who are doing that, then it becomes even more so. And I've referred before to my first principal, who was Dr. Barbara Sizemore. And Dr. Sizemore was the principal at Anton Dvorak School. People around 16th Street now will call it Dvorak. If you grew up there with Dr. Sizemore, it was clearly Dvorak. And so she went on to become the superintendent of schools in D.C., in Philadelphia, the dean of education at DePaul, and just an absolute powerhouse. And she, her impact and her thoughts about reading and how we needed to learn that and how parents shouldn't be as transient as they needed to be, because she said, we're trying to teach them how to read. And if we move, we can't do that. And the way in which she organized a Dvorak school during that time was just absolutely fascinating. So, so grateful to have had her.
I can tell you my favorite principal as well. Same, my first principal. Her name is, she passed on as well. Her name is Miss Cora Smith. She was, ironically, my mom's kindergarten teacher. And so she knew my mom and everything and my whole family, basically, when we all grew up and went to Fermi Elementary and stuff. So I remember my first day of school like it was yesterday. And my mom brought my brother and I up there, and she told us, this is Miss Smith. She used to be my teacher. And I just looked like, really? I didn't even know that was possible. And so ever since then, she's just always had a soft spot in her heart for my brother and I and my sisters. So just Miss Corsman, God rest her soul, she was a heck of a lady, a great mentor in my life as well. And then when I got in trouble, which I did get a lot of trouble, wasn't like the normal kids. I had special privilege. So I would end up having to go like to her house and cut the grass and do little things around the house. So I got out of trouble.
Shocking. Let me do this. I want to introduce my next guest. Simon Rogers. Simon Rogers has prepared this book. It's called A Surprising Hopeful History of Humankind. And the title of it is What We Ask Google. Kind of gives us a better sense of who we are and what we do. Simon Rogers, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
No, it's great to have you. So give us a perspective on who you are and why you decided to share with us who we are in your book, What We Ask Google.
So I work at Google. I'm the data editor, and I work with Google Trends data, which is basically a publicly available tool. You can go and have a look at it at trends.google.com. And really, there have been books before about, kind of extreme stuff, but I've just been really interested in our everyday searches, the stuff that we all do. And what it shows me is that we are all needing a bit of help now and then, and we're all searching for similar things, and we want to help other people. You can see it in the way that searches for help are higher now than they've ever been. And we also have a ton in common. So, like, for instance, every morning about 2 a.m, searches for baby and sleep spike wherever you are around the world. And we also know nothing. We need help with everyday stuff, whether it's boiling an egg or tying a tie. So we have a lot more in common than perhaps we think we do.
Indeed. That's we'll be back. We'll have more with Simon Rogers in his book, What We Ask Google, a surprisingly hopeful history of humankind, which we certainly need right now. But first, let's find out from Annette what's going on in the headlines and what's in Black Information News.
Gray skies and rainy. On this Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, I'm Annette Flurnoy, and in the headlines, classes are canceled this morning at Forest View School in Arlington Heights after a school resource officer reported his service weapon missing. And just when you thought it was a race between Indiana and Arlington Heights, Illinois, Mayor Brandon Johnson is getting ready to take a trip to Springfield to talk about keeping the Bears in Chicago. And congratulations goes out to Dr. Shaka Rawls, the principal of Leo High School, for being handed the Covenant Golden Apple Foundation Award. National news from the Black Information Network is next on the Voice of a Nation and the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON, Berwyn, Chicago. It's 8:01.
It's a turbulent Tuesday on the Cleopatra Show, and I'm pouring some Southern iced tea for us to sip. Join me for an exclusive interview with the Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. This civil rights fierce leader and advocate has sounded the alarm. In fact, he's waving the WB sign in the air, warning brothers and sisters that the United States Postal Service is running out of cash in less than 1 year. Working families, is this your employer? Do you vote by mail, sending packages and cards? Black America, you are the stockholder. And President Morial is warning us that our investment may go belly up. You don't want to be late for class. Tune in Tuesday, only on The Cleopatra Show at 9 a.m.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no. So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Joe's Landscaping is Joe.
I'd like an estimate to install a sprinkler system in the forest.
Okay, your property's on forest land?
Oh, no. It is the forest.
I don't follow.
Well, I'm calling around for estimates to install sprinklers throughout our forests.
What?
Well, let me explain. We're a grassroots group looking for funding to combat people's recklessness with fire in the forest. We can't get funding if we don't have an estimate, so,
Are you serious?
Yeah. We're calling it the National Sprinkler System. Isn't that great?
You want to know how much a sprinkler system would run you for the forest?
Uh-huh.
That doesn't even make sense, sir.
Oh, no. Oh, you know what? You're right. Maybe we should just map out Olympic National Forest first.
Is this a joke?
No. Imagine being able to flip a switch and put a fire out.
Flip a switch. You know how much land you're talking about?
I know it seems big, Joe.
It seems big.
Well, they built that pipeline thing. That's pretty big.
No. I'm sorry. I can't help.
Wait, Joe.
Only you can prevent wildfires. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, the Ad Council, and this station.
I'm Sally, a volunteer at United Way. I'm asking people around the neighborhood what they think this place needs. Excuse me, hi. What do you think this place needs?
I'd like to see more parking.
More playgrounds.
Free movies. That's easy. Better restaurants.
And you, what do you think this place needs?
This place? More ice cream trucks.
Okay. How about you?
Wi-Fi everywhere?
I was thinking more money in the pockets of local families come tax time.
Can I change my answer?
I was just kidding about the ice cream.
Oh, that's way better. Now that you mention it.
When it comes to getting better tax refunds into the hands of local families, what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org. Because great things happen when we live united. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Buying custom blinds shouldn't be complicated or stressful. That's why Blindster.com makes it simple and affordable. You measure, you install, and you save big on custom blinds. Ordering takes minutes, installation is easy, and they guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, and family history of kidney failure. All three put you at risk for kidney disease. We are at increased risk and should get screened. This is host LaDonna Ray. Every Tuesday in May at 3:30 p.m. during our health and wellness campaign, the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois will talk with us about kidney health, treatment options, free health screenings, and more. Tune in Tuesdays at 3:30 p.m. and go get screened. Visit kidneymobile.org or call 312-321-1500. That's 312-321-1500.
High blood pressure often has no symptoms, but it can lead to heart disease, stroke, and kidney damage. Know your numbers. Stay active and make regular checkups part of your routine. And that's your Healthy Reminder. This Healthy Reminder is sponsored in part by the South Suburban Chicago, Illinois chapter of The Links, Incorporated, and Vantive.
It's Matt McGill.
Matt, we did want to give you a little how do you do today. I'm from McGuire. How do you do, Matt McGill? How do you do? How do you do, Matt McGill? How do you do? You may think you're upper class, but you're just a horse's. How do you do, Matt McGill? How do you do?
Thank you, guys.
McGuire, you're welcome.
Matt McGill on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. It's time to say goodnight to that check engine light. with the free AutoZone Fix Finder service. It'll help troubleshoot the likely cause of your light for free, so you can drive with peace of mind. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
WVON traffic and weather now.
DuSable Lakeshore Drive much heavier. You're now looking at a 29-minute trip from 67th Street to Jackson. Making your way from Hollywood to Monroe, you'll need 31 minutes there. Pretty much stop and go from Foster all the way to the Oak Street curve. The Ryan just bumped up to a 47-minute trip from 95th Street into downtown. If you're along the Bishop Ford, still 26 in from I-80-94 to the Ryan. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, a 21-minute trip in from I-80. Turning to the Stevenson, still that hour 5 from I-355 to DuSable Drive. Give yourself 50 minutes traveling out. You'll need an hour 10 on the Eisenhower from Thorndale to the Burns Circle. That outbound trip, just about an hour. And the Kennedy, an hour 7 from O'Hare to downtown. Getting to the airport, still just about an hour there. Taking a look at our weather, we're seeing some on-again, off-again rain this morning. Cloudy skies, temperatures climbing near 62. Tonight, 47. We're at 49 degrees at Midway. It's 48 in West Pullman and 48 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flurnoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The Chicago Blues Festival is more than a festival. It's a celebration of culture, rhythm, and legacy. We'll see you in Millennium Park June 4th through the 7th. We're WVON.
I'll play the blues for you.
Live from the Xfinity Studios, it's the station that America listens to. WVON, Berwyn, Chicago. It's Rufus Williams on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
You wonder how to do it. It's just one simple rule. I'm just cool.
Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so cool. Ain't nobody bad like me. Hey. R-U-F-U-S. What's that spell? R-U-F-U-S.
I'm just cool.
Welcome back. While I have a guest in the studio, I want to finish my interview or get back to my interview with Simon Rogers. His book is titled What We Ask Google, A Surprisingly Hopeful History of Humankind. Simon, when you started looking at the trends and the things that people search, did you find more things in common or did you find more odd things that people are looking to learn?
I mean, it's definitely a mixture of the both. I'll say basically when I started writing the book, I wasn't sure how it would work. And my mum had actually passed away a couple of months earlier. And so, you know, when that happens, you feel like you're the only person in the world searching for something. But the one thing about looking at the data is I realized that not only was I not the only person in the world searching for it, but other people were too. And also people were searching for kind of how to help people in my situation. So it kind of makes you feel like you're not alone, even though you may feel kind of lonely in a particular situation. So it made me realize that we have a lot in common. And around those kind of big things, those big everyday things like parenting or pets or food or whatever it is. But there's also a ton of stuff in there that is weird about the way that we search. So for instance, if I said to you, what do you think the top animal people search for to keep as a pet? You might think it's going to be a dog or a cat, but actually one of the top animals people search for to keep as a pet or trending is a panda. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think most of us can have a panda as a pet. But
yeah, I think that's true. I first thought was dog or cat, and then I thought turtle because every turtle I had did not survive. So,
sorry to hear that.
Yes, well, it just happened. Sorry about your mom as well, but you're right.
Oh, thank you.
Grief is one of those things that we are coming up to Mother's Day, and I lost mine last year, so it's one that we do look and try to figure out. What are the things, though? You mentioned some things that we have in common that we may not otherwise know. What is it that's bringing us together that you're learning about in these searches?
I mean, there's just like a lot of things that we do, even around the same time of the year or the same time of the day. For instance, like I mentioned before, that, you know, about 2 a.m, people search for how to get their babies to sleep. And that happens throughout the day, that people might search for, when to get lunch around the same time, or when to take a nap, or how to calm down about 11 o'clock at night. But it even happens during the year as well. Like if you look at searches for how to play piano, they always spike in December, just ahead of the Christmas holidays. So you kind of get a lot of things that we all do come similarly in different places. And there are also things that I thought would show how incredibly human people are in the way they work together. So, for instance, whenever there's a hurricane or a weather disaster, people search for stuff like how to calm a dog in a storm, which I love that search, because you could be in a situation where you're worried about your house and your family, but you're also looking after your pets and caring about things that matter to you.
You have to ask.
You
have to ask that we relying on Google and we take it as fact. Should we, or is Google giving us bad information sometimes?
So basically, I looked at the things that we search for, things we look for. So, search is now ubiquitous. It happens all around the world. And you can go on the trend site yourself and have a look at the site. I don't talk about like what's in the internet, because I just wanted to look at the things that we actually look for, and the things that we have in common there.
Well, the beauty of Google now is that no question goes unanswered. There's nothing that we shouldn't know or can't know, because we can just look it up. And now we can find out what we're looking up that's common with everybody else. What did we do before Google?
I was trying to remember. I can still remember the first time I used it back in the late 90s. But I think, in the past, I think, we would have, it's like asking for advice, right? Who would we have asked in the past? And I think now the one thing about your searches is there are no dumb questions, right? It's not like social media where you're presenting yourself in social media, aren't you? You're like, you want to look a certain way. Right. But when you search, you're being honest. You're searching for things you genuinely care about. So, I ask dumb questions all day long, and I think that's good. We're becoming more curious, if anything.
Yeah, I do too, but I try not to do it on purpose. The book is great. You're learning much more about what we do together. The book is titled What We Ask Google, A Surprisingly Hopeful History of Humankind by Simon Rogers. It's available wherever you get your books. And as always, I encourage you to go to your independent bookstores, because they can certainly use the help. Simon, thank you so much for the book, and thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
Indeed. Be well, my friend.
You too.
And now to my in-studio guest. Happy to have her join me. Finally, it's only been about 3 years since we've talked about getting together. Patricia, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Good morning, Rufus. Good morning.
Why don't you talk about, we talked about a few things. We talked about a bunch of things over time, but we are this week really, this month, focusing in on health and wellness. And where we met was around the Alzheimer's Association and caregiving. And you've written a book on that topic as well. And I'm going to do a fuller introduction to you, but I just wanted to get into where we are and your book you wrote and why you decided to write the Caregiver's Journal.
Sure. So the book is entitled A Caregiver's Guide for Alzheimer's and Dementia, 9 Key Principles. And I was actually inspired to write this book after my first book. So my first book, which is Losing a Hero to Alzheimer's, The Story of Pearl, that book reads more like a memoir that I contributed to my mother. I was my mother's caregiver. So in that book, I'm unfolding the signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's while I'm telling you her life story. So in the second book, that was like a follow-up to my first book. What happened is, as I would go out and speak, people would ask me different questions. So it kind of became like those frequently asked questions. So the 9 key principles read like the frequently asked questions, where I'm giving caregivers tips on how to provide caregiving for their family in a very unique and hands-on type of way.
Well, it's got to be certainly that way when you're dealing with Alzheimer's, more so than a lot of other things, because you're watching a person who you've known become somebody different and not know who you are, which brings forth a lot of, it's pressure, it's reality, and it's actually a purpose around what you're doing. And so those principles become critically important in that process. But caregiving is a really tough thing. Did it almost break you at any point?
It is. It did. It's you're so right. Is very, very tough, especially when you have a limited support system. So I did have a limited support system, but I am very grateful that my late husband, Eric Chessier, was a great help to me when I was taking care of my mom. But fortunately now, because this was years ago, and many years ago, and so now they have a lot more resources that's available that they didn't have back then. So yes, caregiving can be very stressful. And one of the things that I discuss in my book is ways to minimize your stress. So it can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be as stressful.
We'll be back. Need to take a quick break. We're talking with Patricia McClure-Cessa. She is the Chief Operating Officer at the Streamwood Behavioral Healthcare System.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back more with her right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Smart conversations with smart people makes us smarter. And that's exactly what you get on Bound and Woven with Rufus Williams. This isn't surface level talk. This is where authors become experts, where books become blueprints, and where ideas are challenged, not just discussed. From Colin Woodard on Nations Apart, to Gloria J. Brown Marshall breaking down the history of protests in America, to Gary Tyler sharing a story of resilience and redemption in Stitching Free. These are not interviews. These are conversations that matter, because every book has a story and every story has a deeper meaning. Bound and Woven with Rufus Williams on Bond TV. You can catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV+, the WVON app, and VON.TV.
Illinois politicians did it again. They secretly tucked bad policy into the budget. Now, guess who pays the price? Servers, drivers, stylists, workers who depend on tips. Unless Springfield fixes this mistake, your credit and debit cards may not work to pay sales tax or tips starting July 1st. Tell Springfield, stop the credit card chaos law. Learn more at guardyourcard.com/Illinois. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-2013. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-2013 or biglou.com.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Buying custom blinds shouldn't be complicated or stressful. That's why Blindster.com makes it simple and affordable. You measure, you install, and you save big on custom blinds. Ordering takes minutes. Installation is easy. And they guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
Video gambling terminals aren't owned by us. They're owned by out-of-state corporations that have never invested in our neighborhoods or our families. They take the money, we take the hit. These machines kill union jobs and drain pension funds for first responders. When these machines move in, crime goes up, break-ins rise. Our community pays the price. We deserve good union jobs, safer streets, and real investments that stay here and build something lasting. Tell City Council, repeal video gambling terminals. Paid for by Neighborhoods Safety First Association.
This is Rufus Williams, and I've got something special for you. I am proud to announce that we're launching the Rufus Williams Travel Club in conjunction with Advantage International. Our first trip, we're staying in the United States and heading to one of the most stunning destinations for culture to cuisine. Join us October 8th through 12th as we explore the charm, the beauty, and the history of Charleston, South Carolina. This isn't your typical getaway. We're walking through history and standing where our stories began. From the roots of Gullah Geechee culture to the International African American Museum, from cobblestone streets to waterfront views. This is more than a trip. It's a cultural vibe. To find out more, visit WVON.com and click the Rufus Williams Travel Club banner. And keep listening for more details. The Rufus Williams Travel Club will turn curiosity into understanding, one destination at a time. We are WVON.
I was having a medical procedure, and I wanted to ensure my kids would get my home should something happen to me. I called attorney Ted London. He provided the land, trust, and power of attorney. Now my kids will not have to go through the probate process.
After the death of my husband, I had to get my affairs in order. I called attorney Ted London. Now my family and home will not have to go through the probate process.
773-721-3333.
This report is brought to you by Capital One Bank. What's in your wallet? Capital One offers no fees or minimums on checking accounts, and most Capital One cafes are open 7 days a week to assist your banking needs. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One, NA member, FDIC.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Traffic this morning, heavy and slow. You're looking at 45 minutes in from 95th Street into downtown along the inbound Ryan. Getting to the Ryan along the Bishop Ford, just about a 27-minute trip in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, 21 minutes in from I-80 to the Ryan, slow from 119th Street in. If you're on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, pretty tight. A 30-minute trip from 67th Street to Jackson, 31 minutes from Hollywood to Monroe. The Stevenson just bumped up to an hour 10 from I-355 to DuSable Drive outbound, a 45-minute trip. The inbound Eisenhower from Thorndale to the Burns Circle, an hour 18. Outbound, an hour. And the Kennedy bumped up to an hour 7 from O'Hare to downtown. Getting to the airport, slightly better, but still slow, a 45-minute trip. Taking a look at our weather, cloudy, wet, with temperatures climbing into the low 60s today. Currently, we're at 48 at O'Hare, 48 in Austin, and 48 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 W.
Welcome back. Look, Chicago, this is important. I really need you guys to really pay attention here. Do not go to Sid's Clothing and Hats. Do not go to Sid's Clothing and Hats and buy up everything. I have not had a chance to make it there. Sid's Clothing and Hats is saying goodbye. Everything there is on sale. I haven't made it. I need a new red Kango or a white one for my noopiness. But don't go there. Don't go there and buy up everything, but go there and buy up something. Step into Sid's. It's at 609 West Roosevelt Road, or give them a call, 312-421-3332. Fresh looks, crazy prices. You don't want to miss out. Sid's Clothing, 65 years. It's a wrap. Back to my conversation with Patricia McClure-Cessa. Man, if you guys are on my personal Facebook, then you heard a whole lot of stuff that we couldn't talk about during the break, but a lot going on with all the things that she does, which is pretty phenomenal, and all the things and places that you are. But thinking about caregiving and Alzheimer's and dementia, you've done a lot of things, had a lot of loss, obviously raising wonderful children, as we have one here. And somewhere in there, you also found time to be a soror of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority.
Absolutely.
So talk more, though. This caregiving thing is really important, and I know we do a lot here, but what are the keys that people need to think about when they're caring for someone?
Right. So one of the things that I talk about in the Caregiver's Guide for Alzheimer's and Dementia, 9 Key Principles, is how important it is for us to accept and treasure the relationship that we had with the person. Because oftentimes, Rufus, you know this, that what happens at the end is overshadowed by what took place in the beginning. So I tell my readers, it's important to journal all of those experiences that you had with your loved one. prior to them being diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So you will have those fond memories, and you're going to make other memories, but you want to make sure that you also remember those memories. But the other thing that's very important is you have to accept that that individual is changing, which means that you cannot hold that individual to the same expectations. And so just kind of to give you an example, my mother was my mother, of course. At times she felt like my sister. She was my confidant. But with being her caregiver, I had to understand that my mother was not able to be there for me the same way that she was able to be there for me in the past. So I had to accept that her personality and everything was changing due to the disease. Another thing I like to stress to people is how important it is, which is another key principle from my book, how important it is to live in the moment. And what do I mean by that? So we know that our loved ones' memory, their long-term memory, is better than their short-term memory. And so oftentimes people with Alzheimer's or dementia, they spend a lot of time talking about previous experiences that they had. And a lot of times it's not current. It can be from many years ago. And so caregivers is not wise to spend a lot of time with explaining to that individual that happened in the 1940s and we're now in the year 2026. I tell people it's important to live in the moment, which means that if they are talking about their high school reunion that took place in 1950, and you know that that's when it took place, live in that moment with them, and we should respond to their experience and be less focused on when the experience actually happened.
If there are two qualities that people really need to focus on as a caregiver, what would those be?
Well, number one, I'm going to say patience. Patience is so important. You have to be patient with your loved one. And patience is something that you practice. We say patience, but it's something that you have to practice. And what do I mean by that? That means that you don't want to put yourself in situations where you know you're going to be rushing. So say, for example, if they have a doctor's appointment, okay, typically it probably would take your average individual maybe about an hour to prepare for a doctor's appointment. But when you are a caregiver and you're preparing someone for an appointment, you maybe want to give yourself 2 hours because we know that things are not going to necessarily go as smoothly as you like. And so we have to make sure that we plan because that also helps us to be more patient. And then the other thing that I would say is just knowing that if you do your best, that's all that's expected. Like everything doesn't have to be done perfectly. And then the second thing I would say, and this is a very touchy subject, is for the caregiver not to take things personally. So oftentimes caregivers will find themselves upset because they remember their brother's birthday, their son's birthday, or their brother's birthday, but they didn't remember their birthday. And they're the ones that's doing the heavy lifting. So then it becomes, well, why did she remember Johnny's birthday, but she didn't remember my birthday, and I'm the one that's doing all the work? And so I tell people you can't take those things personally, because the mind is very, very complicated. And so when you add Alzheimer's and dementia into the mix, it's even more complicated. And so I had to get to a point where I had to realize that there's no rhyme or reason as to why my mother remembered certain things about other loved ones who wasn't helping in her caregiving process, but didn't remember things about me. So don't take it personally, and know that your loved one, if your loved one did not have this disease, that they would be appreciative of what you're doing.
It's so wonderful, the work that you've done in sharing these books and speaking as you do. And hopefully our children are listening so they know how to take care of us when those moments come as well. He says as he looks over at her daughter, Patricia McClure-Cessa. Say your last name.
Chessier.
Yeah, Chessier. Thank you so much, one, for your books, for all that you do with really talking about this issue of caregiving and Alzheimer's, and just really bringing it to us, because it's really important that we know and we understand. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Rufus, for having me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Indeed. Let's find out from Annette what's going on in the news. When we come back, it's Tuesday, which means it's time for Wealth Strategies with Khomeini. We'll be back after this.
Light rain and 49 degrees. Good morning. I'm Annette Flournoy, and here's what's happening. Just when you thought it was a race between Indiana and Arlington Heights, Illinois, Mayor Brandon Johnson is getting ready to take a trip to Springfield to talk about keeping the Bears here in Chicago. He's planning to talk to state lawmakers tomorrow to make a last-minute play to keep the Bears in the city. We expect to hear more about the mayor's trip at a press briefing later today. City and community leaders, as well as Southside residents, held a rally outside Walgreens yesterday at 86 and Cottage Grove to protest against their closing. Alderman Will Hall of the 6th Ward led the call.
When 12th and State Street had loss prevention, they redesigned. Again, this neighborhood is not broke. These people behind us have good jobs, retirees, and they want a quality medicine option in their neighborhood.
After already packing up and shutting down 5 Southside Walgreens locations, the company is expected to close 86 and Cottage Grove location as early as a month from now on June 4th. Well, classes are canceled this morning at Forest View School in Arlington Heights after a school resource officer reported his service weapon missing. The officer says he removed it while in the restroom just before school let out, but after a thorough search, he could not find it. The Arlington Heights Police Department is now involved in the investigation at the specialized school. They've called in K-9 units and are looking over surveillance cameras. Congratulations goes out to Dr. Shaka Rawls, the principal of Leo High School, for getting a special surprise recognition. He was handed the coveted Golden Apple Foundation Award for Excellence in Leadership. In 2016, Dr. Rawls took over at the Black all-male Catholic high school in Auburn Gresham neighborhood at a time when the school was struggling. Today, enrollment and test scores are up, and there is a 100% college acceptance rate. And the first visitors at the Obama Presidential Centers were treated to a preview at an invite-only tour of the inside of the building. Final touches are still being made on the outside. The Obama Center officially is set to open Juneteenth. Well, that's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVO News Time, 8:34.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
Video gambling terminals aren't owned by us. They're owned by out-of-state corporations that have never invested in our neighborhoods or our families. They take the money, we take the hit. These machines kill union jobs and drain pension funds for first responders. When these machines move in, crime goes up, break-ins rise. Our community pays the price. We deserve good union jobs, safer streets, and real investments that stay here and build something lasting. Tell City Council, repeal video gambling terminals. Paid for by Neighborhoods Safety First Association.
Hey Chicago, it's Matt McGill. We had so much fun last year. We're heading back to the Chicago Blues Festival as their official radio partner June 5th through the 7th in Millennium Park. But guess what? On Thursday, June 4th, we're going to kick things off. That's me and my buddy Sir Henry Cheatham. We're going to the iconic Ramova Theater, 3618 South Austin, and we're bringing on stage one of Chicago's favorites, the one, the only, Willie Clayton.
Sleeping in my bed one time.
And Chicago's own, the legendary John Primer.
Well, I'm rolling and tumbling, talking all out of my head.
You want to join us? Then reserve your free seats now at RamovaChicago.com. That's RamovaChicago.com. Then keep it right here to WVON for your chance to win VIP tickets to the Ramova and to hear more about this year's lineup. I'll see you there Thursday, June 4th at the Ramova Theater to kick off the 2026 Chicago Blues Festival, brought to you by Mayor Brandon Johnson and DCASE, the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-2013. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-2013 or biglou.com.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, inviting you to join me weekdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here on WVON. I am bringing you a national perspective on all the happenings in the Black community and, of course, politics. It's talk radio for us, by us, and this is where America listens.
It's Tavis Smiley, weekdays from 6 to 9 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Wait, hey, Mr. Postman.
It's a turbulent Tuesday on the Cleopatra Show, and I'm pouring some Southern iced tea for us to sip. Join me for an exclusive interview with the Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. This civil rights fierce leader and advocate has sounded the alarm. In fact, he's waving the WB sign in the air, warning brothers and sisters that the United States Postal Service is running out of cash in less than 1 year. Working families, is this your employer? Do you vote by mail, sending packages and cards? Black America, you are the stockholder. And President Morial is warning us that our investment may go belly up. You don't want to be late for class. Tune in Tuesday, only on The Cleopatra Show at 9 a.m.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Buying custom blinds shouldn't be complicated or stressful. That's why Blindster.com makes it simple and affordable. You measure, you install, and you save big on custom blinds. Ordering takes minutes, installation is easy, and they guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
The following is paid programming. The views are not necessarily those of this station. It's time for the Wealth Strategy Show with Khomeini Khan, powered by Optimal Planning Partners.
Khomeini Khan, certified financial planner professional, offers securities through Equitable Advisors, LLC, New York, New York, 212-314-4600. Member FINRA, SIPC, Equitable Financial Advisors in Michigan and Tennessee. Annuity and insurance products offered through Equitable Network, LLC, and does not provide tax or legal advice. Individuals may transact business and or respond to inquiries only in states in which they are properly registered and or licensed. This informational and educational radio segment does not offer or constitute and should not be relied upon as financial business or tax advice.
Welcome back. It is that time. It is Tuesday. It is 8:30-ish, which means we have an opportunity to talk to my main man, Khomeini Khan, about wealth strategies. But Khomeini, before I do that, tell me this. Are you going with me to South Carolina?
You know what, Rufus? I'm excited about that travel club, and you can put me down. I'm gonna try to make it, but that's a great thing, and it sounds like a great experience.
There you go. And for everybody else, go to WVON.com, click the Rufus Williams Travel Club banner. I'm going to ask each of you individually because this is a trip you don't want to miss. I mean, I want to ask you as well. See if you can adjust your echo because your voice is a little bit echoey in there.
Okay. Is this any better? Any better?
Do the best you can. Have you been to Charleston?
I have not been to Charleston.
No, you got to come on the trip.
I've been to South Carolina, but not Charleston.
Yeah, no, this is a trip. This is the one. Let's get to your show. We'll talk about that offline. But folks, just can't wait. Khomeini Khan joins us every Tuesday to do wealth strategies, give us some information. It kind of helps us along the way. Khomeini, talk about why it's important that we do this.
Yeah, so first, just, good morning, Rufus, of course, and the crew and all the WVON listeners, and welcome to your Tuesday check-in with your money. Definitely appreciate everyone being here, listening in another day. First, just want to take a minute, Rufus. Yesterday, I actually had the opportunity to celebrate my wife and her birthday. And so, always want to just take a moment to acknowledge the good and wonderful woman that I have in my life. They say behind and beside every good man is a good woman, and definitely want to take the time to acknowledge her. So happy birthday, wife.
Be smooth with that. Talk that stuff, Khomeini. Talk that stuff.
Right, get as many points as I can, right?
Birthday, Mrs. Khan.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. But yeah, it's important, we continue to have this segment, Rufus, because, we're going to talk every single week about different financial strategies and how to improve people's lives with these financial strategies. Of course, wealth strategies is all about being able to do better with your money, to be able to shift and change the paradigm by doing better for ourselves and better for our family and eventually better for the next generation. We're going to use strategies like looking at investments and understanding the stock market. We're going to do things like, being able to look at real estate and home ownership, owning businesses. And so each and every week, of course, we're going to talk about a different strategy and do a deep dive to give listeners some ideas and strategies that they can use and start to implement in their lives to really make a difference and really start to build that wealth and hopefully create some financial independence for themselves and their family. So that's why this is important, Rufus.
Great.
And of course, go ahead.
No, you go on, please.
Yeah, and I was going to say, of course, every week we do our financial tip of the week, of course. And,
indeed. And this time you decided rather than us picking out what's important, you'd let the listeners do that.
Absolutely. So first of the month, we have our hot topics discussion. So I'm excited about that. We got our hot topics today. So we got some questions from listeners and just people kind of approaching me with different questions that they had. And so I want to be able to take time to address those because, every week we don't get a chance to be able to, talk about questions that listeners have. But, when I have an opportunity to get those questions in advance, then I can answer them on the show. So that's what we're going to do today.
Fantastic. So our first question today is from a listener. They asked, what's the first step someone should take to improve their financial situation?
Yeah, Rufus, and obviously that's a very common question. People would just say, hey, how can I do better, right? Where can I start? Where is that first step that I can take? And so when I'm talking with clients and really, encouraging them and helping them with that first step when it comes to really improving their situation, it's a couple different strategies that I share with them. And so the first thing we need to do, just like anything, I think about it like building a house, right? And so the first thing you do when you build a house is you start with that foundation, right? So we got to start with that financial foundation. And so that financial foundation is really just making sure that those kind of everyday things that are most essential to your financial independence and well-being are taken care of. And so kind of you talk about it every single week. First having that emergency reserve is so important. Having that reserve, that 6 months of bills set aside in an account like a savings account or money market or something, so you can tap into it when things happen, when life happens, right? So be it something with your car, something with the house, you don't want to have to use credit, you don't want to have to go into your investments. And so having that emergency reserve is important to have. Another tip and strategy that I would say for anyone just wanting to take those first steps is really ensuring your income is protected. A lot of times we think about our assets, right? And we think about, my home is my most valuable asset or, my car. But really, you are your most valuable asset. Your ability to make money, get up, go to work, and, make a living. That is really your most important asset, because if you can't, be healthy and get up and do what you need to do, then the money stops. And so having some way to protect that income, think about things like potentially disability insurance type plans and life insurance. Those are things that protect your income for yourself and your family. So making sure those things are taken care of. And then think about things like, as when it comes to saving, setting up some automatic savings plans. There are a lot of ways you can save automatically, be it through your paycheck, for retirement. So having some way to be able to save and do it automatically. We don't want to have to move money from our, check in the savings account every single paycheck, because sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. And so making sure that you have something set up automatically. So those are just 3 simple ways to really kind of just get started so far as kind of improving your financial situation, Rufus.
Yeah, that's good because you go into much more depth, which is why it's important that you're here. I'd say make more money and spend less money.
That is definitely a big one. That's a question too.
And here's another question from a listener. How can I start investing?
Yeah, that's another question I get a lot. Of course, we talk about wealth strategy, talk about the stock market and understanding what the stock market is. And some people say, well, just how do I get started, right? Where do I go? What do I do? And so, when I tell people when it comes to investing, it's a few different things you want to take in consideration. One of the first things you want to do when it comes to thinking about investing is you really want to have a clear investment strategy. That's what I sit down and talk to my clients about. You want to invest. Okay, great. That's the first step. But there's so many type of investments out there. We need to be able to say, well, what is the strategy around this investment? What are we investing for? Is it for retirement? Is it for college education? Is it for, to buy a new home? So, what do we want to be able to use that money for? That's one of the first things we need to do. Also need to think about, how much risk do you want to take? Are you a very conservative person, doesn't like taking too many risks, or you don't mind being more aggressive, right? How long do we want to invest? Is this something we want to do for a year, 5 years, 10 years? So we need to be able to answer that question. And then, of course, is this going to be a one-time investment, or is this going to be like an ongoing investment? So those are some of the first things we need to be able to kind of flush out when it comes to defining that strategy. Some examples of different investments we can use depending on what that strategy is. For example, if you're looking for short-term investments, right? Just, be able to grow some things quickly and maybe easily, not too much risk. You have things like U.S. Treasuries, you got CDs, you got money markets, right? If you're talking about something a little on a medium term, maybe a little bit longer, potentially have a little more risk, a little more growth. You have investments like mutual funds, stocks, bonds, potentially. And then on the long-term side, Rufus, people who are looking to invest long-term, we got, retirement accounts, right? We got IRAs, 401ks, annuity plans. So just depending on where you are and what those goals are, there are a lot of different type of investments that you can use, but you really need to flush out what that strategy is. I'll share one more tidbit with you, Rufus. A lot of people will ask me too, what is the most common mistake people also make when it comes to investing? And one of the most common mistakes people make is, really kind of cashing that investment out too quickly and really not sticking with that strategy that they set out. And so that's why it's so important to have that strategy up front. So when things get a little rocky, and sometimes things get a little rocky, be it either the market or your personal situation, you need to be able to lean on that strategy and not cash out so quickly when things get a little bit rocky. So lean on that strategy. That's one of the first things that you can do when it comes to investing.
Oh, you mentioned in there investing, you mentioned retirement. And one of the things, and it's a different kind of question because people want to know now I've saved, I've invested, I saved for retirement. Now that I retired, what should I do with the money that has been saved in my retirement accounts?
Yeah, and that's a great question too, Rufus. Get that question a lot. You work a lifetime, you save, you put in money in that 401k, put in money in that IRA, and those investments, and then people say retirement gets here. Now what? Now what do I do? Right? I've saved all this money. Now what? And so, obviously that depends on everyone's personal situation. Some people may need additional income for retirement beyond what they have, like a pension or Social Security. So they may need some additional income. Other people may not need income. So it depends on that personal circumstance. And so, a few different options I would tell clients generally around kind of, what to do with the money when it comes to retirement. So obviously you have the option in many cases to just leave it where it is. Let it continue to grow and earn interest depending on, what kind of investment you have it in. So that's kind of a default one. Another one is that, if you need income, you can set up a plan that can provide you some income potentially now and over the long term. There are a lot of ways to be able to do that if you need income. Another option is you can take those funds out of the plan that you have it in and potentially roll it over or transfer it to a different plan. For example, like an IRA or another type of retirement plan. So there are a lot of different options you can use to be able to begin to access that money in retirement. But again, you need to have that strategy. You need to be able to flush it out and figure out, hey, what do you need so we can match up the investment with what your need is and the ultimate goal of what you're trying to accomplish.
Great. And thinking about people improving their financial situation, another question that comes up is about affordability. And in spite of what some may say that it's not real, it's a very, very real thing. And we're noticing costs increasing on gas, on groceries, on other items. What are some tips to keep more of what you earn?
Yeah, that's a big one, Rufus. Nowadays, I went to the gas station yesterday and paid $5.20 a gallon. I just said, wow, like, man. And that was regular. That wasn't the premium. It was $5.20 a gallon. And so it can be very tough, so far as people's budgets. Most people haven't planned for $5 a gallon gas. So there are some things that we can do individually. There's certain things that are out of our control, but there are certain things that are in our control. And so, for example, having that budget is so important, Rufus. We talked about that on, show after show, really just having a budget, as opposed to kind of just spending and not knowing where those dollars are going. If you have a budget, you can potentially make adjustments to that budget because you know where the money is going and you know where it's coming from. So having a budget is really important, especially when times are, when finances are tight, when you have high costs, particularly in the economy. So that's important. Another thing that we can do is, as it relates to kind of our debts and our credit card, which many people carry, ongoing credit cards and debts, a way to potentially try to save money, when things are tight, reach out to those creditors. I mentioned it on the show before, we're talking about debt management. Don't be afraid to reach out to your creditors and say, look, I am experiencing a hardship right now. Hopefully it's temporary. Can you work with me? Can you help me? Can you lower my payment? Can you lower my interest? Many credit card companies and lending institutions have special programs for hardship where they can work with you as long as you try to be proactive and not wait till it's too late. Reaching out to them up front can really make a big difference. And of course, if you need some extra money, because things are tight, consider a part-time job, right? Consider, like you mentioned earlier, considering getting some more income, whether through a gig job, some consulting, something to be able to hopefully just kind of get us through this crunch. And hopefully this crunch does not last, too long, because it is a crunch on a lot of people. So I definitely understand. But these are a few tips that can hopefully help people out.
Yeah, Khomeini, everybody goes through this process of deciding whether it's better to rent, whether it's better to own. Talk about why home ownership is important to building wealth.
Yeah, and that's a great question too. A lot of people do ask about home ownership, and nowadays a lot of people are renting. Be it because maybe funds are tight, or it's not as much inventory or houses on the market, and so people say, is it still important to own a home? And and from my point of view, I think it is important, because for most people, their largest asset is still their home and the equity that they have in that home. And so, even if you don't personally intend to use that equity and you just intend to live in your home for the rest of your life, there is still equity building up in that home. And even if you don't use it personally, that equity can pass on to the next generation. And so in many cases, that home is the largest asset that goes to the next generation. So if you think about it from an aspect of it still being important so far as building wealth, it can be extremely important, because if you own a home and you pay off that mortgage and eventually it goes to your kids or grandkids, that's a very large asset that can go to the next generation. And so I think that's why it's still important when it comes to building wealth and passing wealth to the next generation.
Well, let's cut to this, because this is important to each of us. Give us some tips on how I and my family can just do better with our money.
Yeah, and that's a common question too, right? Kind of like first one. And the first one is like, what is that first step I can take? And then kind of this one is kind of just more general, like, what can I do? How can I improve my finances? And so it's a couple different ideas or strategies that I would kind of throw out there to people and say how you can do better. And so one of the first things you need to do is you really need to understand, all of us, is how money actually works. We get paid, we save, we invest. But a lot of times we don't really understand how money works. So it's a lot of ways where we can really start to understand money a little bit better, be it through, reading, be it through listening to shows like us talking about money every single week, be it through talking to a financial advisor, magazines, podcasts. So really just educating yourself is really the first step. And then once we educate ourselves, it's really, really incumbent upon us to start talking with our family and start talking with our children about money and how money works and investing, right? Because it's one thing to be able to understand it yourself, but a lot of times we know we understand money, or whatever understanding we have is because we kind of did it ourselves. We didn't necessarily have our parents or grandparents talking to us about investing and saving and being responsible with our credit. So if we can do those things and educate ourselves and talk to our family about it, talk to our children about it, now we're going to be in a better position. And our children are going to be in a better position. They'll be way ahead of us because they'll understand a lot better. They don't have to necessarily figure it out the same way we do. Topics like, saving, investing, credit, and even estate planning. These are things that, we can learn about and begin to educate our family and children about so they can really do better. And that's really how we shift the paradigm, Rufus, over the long term, is through that education piece.
Well, stay there for a minute, because this also addresses some of the comments that are coming up on Facebook. Should I create an estate plan even if I don't consider myself wealthy?
And that's a great question too. And so, when it comes to estate planning, I talk to all of my clients about estate planning, and you don't have to be wealthy to create and have an estate plan. I really stress that to my clients, because a lot of time we think that we do need to be wealthy or have a lot of assets, but any assets you own, whether it be your home or your car, your savings, all of those are assets, and those all fall under your estate. And so it's important to have an estate plan so you can spell out who can get this money, who do you want to have this money. And so working with an attorney is obviously extremely important, and an accountant to be able to develop an estate plan. I'll work with your attorney and accountant to make sure the financial side of estate planning is taken care of. But if you don't do it, the state has laws in place and essentially has a plan for you if you don't do it yourself. And so, in my opinion, you would much rather give some input about where your money goes and how it goes, as opposed to leaving it up to someone else. And that's the importance of really having an estate plan, Rufus.
Indeed. And finally, I know we're out of time, but what type of life insurance is going to be best long term?
Actually, this is something we're going to be talking about in an upcoming show. And so life insurance has so many ins and outs to it, everything from term insurance to permanent insurance to whole life, universal. There's so many different types of insurance. And so people may say, hey, what is the best kind? And it really depends on your personal situation. Everybody's situation is different. I'm a type of person, I never say one size fits all. Everyone should have this type or this type. We need to do a assessment with you. We need to sit down and see what your needs are. How much insurance do you need? What do you want it to cover? You need to cover your mortgage. Do you need it to pay final expenses? So really just having a conversation with you around what your goals are and what do you need insurance to do. A lot of people don't, when I say, hey, what do you want your insurance to do for you? People say, well, what do you mean? What do I want it to do? Because there's so many things that insurance can do for you. So it's important to really kind of figure out those things that are a priority for you, obviously just beyond of paying for a funeral. And some people just want to pay for a funeral, and that's fine, but other people want to do more things with it. So it's important to have that conversation. And this is something that we'll do when we have a consultation. So reach out to my office. Happy to sit down with you if you have questions around life insurance, investments, or any of these topics, so we can help you come up with a plan that makes sense for you and your family.
Well, life insurance is a big one, as you just went through. Can we talk about that next week?
Absolutely. And so our topic next week is understanding life insurance. So we'll go into a bit more detail about those different types of policies and what makes sense for you and your family.
Fantastic. Khomeini can be reached by phone or text at 630-575-5046. Also, you can go to the website, wvonwealthshow.com, fill out a contact card, or complete the Discovery Financial Survey to get started. 630-575-5046 or wvonwealthshow.com. Khomeini?
Thank you, Rufus. I appreciate it. Love being able to, answer listeners' questions, those things that people actually have top of mind. So continue to reach out, continue to, allow us to help you and your family to build wealth. And, I look forward to talking next week. But also in the meantime, I want to say, an early happy Mother's Day to everyone coming up, obviously, Mother's Day this weekend.
Amen to that. Equitable Advisors, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC, a broker-dealer. Equitable Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Equitable Advisors and Optimal Planning Partners do not provide tax or legal advice, and the information provided is general in nature and should not be considered legal or tax advice. Please consult an attorney, tax professional, or other advisor regarding your specific legal or tax situation. Khomeini, I look forward to talking to you next week and look forward to seeing you with me in Charleston in October.
Sounds exciting.
All right. Man.
Take care.
Be well. All right, folks, that's all I have for you for today, only because it's all the time that I've got. Annette, thank you as always for giving us all the information as you do. And Titus, thank you for keeping all these things together. And people, go out there and look, just be kind to everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. Annette, tell us what's in the headlines, and T-Dub, take us home.
Cloudy and 49 going up to 62 on this Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. I'm Annette Vernoyen. The headlines: classes are canceled this morning at Forest View